Alright guys, welcome back. This is going to be a weird video. As you can see, I'm just kind of dressed ready for bed, literally. It's like 10 something. But I couldn't fall asleep. For those who don't know, Rob Pitts, who was a pretty famous YouTuber, would tell used car sales stories. He's down in South Carolina. Unfortunately, I literally just found out today when I saw the video, he'd gotten stomach cancer like a year ago and died from it, I guess, yesterday. Which really sucks because he was a super fun to listen to his stories. I kind of, wondered where he went, but a lot of YouTubers just disappear sometimes. And there's also the inevitable, just like, you get lost in the shuffle, right? You're watching hundreds of channels potentially. So one person leaving, you kind of don't necessarily notice, right? But he would do videos on VinWiki and everything else. And I don't know. I normally celebrities, for lack of a better term, dying and stuff like that. I mean, it's sad, of course, right? Like, not saying it's not at all, but it normally doesn't bother me on like a personal level, right? Because I didn't know them, right? It's no different than somebody else's grandma dying. I mean, it's sad, but they weren't your grandma. So it was weird for me when I saw that video today, and it was like actually really heart wrenching. I was like, man, like that dude, I feel like I knew him just from listening to these stories, and just seemed like a down to earth kind of good old Southern boy kind of deal. And man, I was just like, it actually made me more sad than I expected. And I I'm not one to do like a memorial service or a rest in peace condolences thing. I don't know. It's not my thing, but I thought it would be cool to honor Rob in a way that I think he would appreciate, which is by telling a car sales story of my own, kind of in the same way that he does. So we're going to sit here and tell you guys this story. It's a little bit, sort of a similar setup to what he did. He had a nice studio and everything. I'm sitting in a living room, but, it'll do. So this is just going to be an off-the-cuff live video. But this is a pretty fun story. So it was a couple of years ago now, so probably like 2022. One of my friends in North Carolina. So I have family in North Carolina. I have a couple friends down there. His name's David. So I happen to be down there visiting my parents and my brother and stuff. And David calls me and he's like, "Hey, you want to go look at a car?" Because I'm like, "Sure, yeah, I'll go look at a car with you." So we and before I tell this story, I promise on my life, this is a 100% true story. I really wish I had my camera and I was filming, but like it wasn't my gig, right? I was going with him. I wasn't trying to turn this into a YouTube video. Plus, it was before I kind of got back into doing YouTube stuff. So anyway, so we load up in the truck and we get the trailer hooked up to it. This car is like 3 hours away, probably like 2.5 hours away, whatever. So he's got a 1991 F350 dually big block. That's his tow rig. Decent shape, but definitely not like perfect shape. This is not it's not a barn find, but it's not also ready for the junkyard kind of thing, somewhere in the middle. And he's got a nice enclosed trailer that he bought with a couple other guys, actually my brother too. So we got the enclosed trailer in the truck in tow. So we're driving out. They're in the Charlotte area. The car was in like the Asheville, North Carolina area. So we're heading into the mountains and we're just, shooting the crap in the truck, huffing exhaust manifold smoke because it had a leaky manifold. And he's telling me the backstory of this car. So what the car was and don't quote me on the year, guys, I'm going to butcher this, but let's say it was like a 1988 Corvette. It was somewhere around there. And the reason he wanted this specific car was because he was in a race league. He raced like champ cars, and he had a Fox Body Mustang that they were racing at the time, but he wanted to upgrade to the Corvette because a little bit more power and handling and stuff like that. And the way this race series worked, again, don't get me on the details, but depending on the like engine and transmission combo you had, you'd get deducted a certain amount of points, like a handicap almost, because they would deem your car a more capable like baseline. And I guess this Corvette had like, I want to say an older motor and a newer transmission than whatever the cutoff was, so that he could get lose the minimum amount of deductions, but then have a higher performing car. So like this 1 year Corvette was still not an LS and had a better transmission or something like that. So anyway, we go to look at this old Corvette. And he's telling me the backstory, and he's like, I wanted to buy this car 6 months ago, but the guy went to jail. And I'm like, okay. So the guy's been in jail for 6 months or whatever. And he's finally out of jail. So he's ready to sell the car again because he can, actually physically get to the car. So I'm like, okay, this just checks out. This is exactly what I was expecting this deal on an 80s Corvette to be. And so we're driving out there and he's like, I'm really excited about it. He explained to me all the stuff I just explained to you. And we roll up to the place and the guy's not even there, okay, which is just hilarious. It's parked in front of a, essentially like a road full of kind of trailers and some real rundown houses, which whatever, all brush not clear around the house and landscaping all messed up, kind of the normal, just like backwoods country home, which was fine. And this car is just chilling in front of the garage. So we're like, okay, he texts the guy's kind of on his way. So we're just going to check the car out. So we're checking the car out. And actually it was pretty similar to what the picture showed. Like it was represented well enough, but it was a little bit rough, but it's going to be a race car. He's going to chop it all up and put a roll cage in it and do all this stuff anyway. So it's not really the same standard you're looking for out of a regular car. So we're looking at everything and everything's checking out for the most part. It wasn't rusty, which was good. Obviously a Southern car. So the guy rolls up. He's got an S10 Blazer. Guy rolls up. Hey, how's it going? Whatever. Nice to meet you. Blah, blah, blah. Before we even say a word, he's pulling the battery out of the S10, right? And we're like, okay, like that's kind of weird, but whatever. And then halfway through pulling the battery out, the guy's like, oh yeah, the car doesn't have a battery or the battery's dead on the car. So I'm going to pull this battery out to show you that it runs. Okay, I mean, we knew it wasn't like a fully running car. He did mention that. So, like, whatever. Just kind of hilarious that he's using the battery out of his daily to do this thing. But fine. So he unhooks the battery from the S10, right? Carries it over to the Corvette, hooks it all up. And he, goes to start it, and he's like, oh, crap. He's like, I don't have any gas. So he's like, oh, I'll come back and I'll get gas. So he takes the battery back out of the Corvette, puts it in the S10, right? Hooks it back up, drives, and goes and gets gas. Well, little did we know, he comes back. He comes out with a 2-liter Coca-Cola bottle full of gas, right? Not like a gas container. He's got a 2-liter bottle. It's just funny, right? Okay, fine. So he does the same rigmarole, puts the gas down, pulls the battery out, hooks it up to the Corvette. And then he's like, all right, guys, yeah. He's like, you got to use this button to start it. The ignition doesn't work. Well, what we later found out was that button was routed around like a LoJack system. So at some point in this car's life, it either had one of those DUI, you got to blow into the straw thing to get the car to run, or a legit LoJack from a buy here, pay here type place. But it was all routed around that. So anyway, I had a push button start, which was kind of convenient considering it needed for the next part of the story. So he's got the button in one hand for the starter, and he's got the 2-liter soda bottle of gas. And we didn't know it at the time, but he had a couple very pristinely pinpricked carburetor jet holes, we'll call them, on the top of this 2-liter bottle. So I swear on my life, this guy is rattling off stats about the car, engine size and horsepower and who owned it before him and yada, yada, yada. And he hits the starter and he's got the 2-liter sideways and he's just doing this with the bottle, right? And he's squirting. I swear on my life, this guy is hand feeding the carburetor through the intake, the perfect amount of fuel. And this thing is idling like a brand new car. It's just perfectly running. It's not surging an RPM or anything like that. It's just perfectly fine. After he gets it started, he's just full conversation looking at us like this and just giving this bottle a quick motion and a squeeze every couple seconds and feeding this car. I mean, he's done this a lot of times before. So David and I look at each other and we're just trying not to laugh because this is just the most hilarious, one of the more hilarious things we've ever seen, So he's talking, whatever. And this guy's got some stories. We find out the car had been re-VINed in the state of Georgia, okay? Why it had gotten re-VINed, stolen, truly the title was lost, and back in the day they just slapped new VINs on. I don't really know, but you could see the new VIN tag was on the inside of the door jamb. So just this car had a very weird history, as you would expect. But it ran good, so the motor clearly was fine. The whole fuel pump and tank was all shot, which he had actually disclosed. So he was pretty honest about it all. Just was so freaking funny. So well, they get talking and stuff, and he's about to do the deal. And the guy had said the title was clean. So not that really my buddy needed the title because it was a race car anyway, but it's just nice in case you want to sell it down the road. It's just nice to have the title, right? It helps even for a race car. So the guy pulls out the title and like his face kind of goes gray, and he's like, yeah, he's like, well, the title's clean, but it's in the previous owner's name and I never got it transferred to me and blah, blah, blah. I got to go like get his signature. He's got a whole story as to why this title it is clean, but it's like not a normal title, right? And we're just like, oh boy, like what is this going to turn into? So the nice thing for my friend was he kind of used it as a negotiating tool because, again, he didn't really need the title, but he got a little bit of money off for that. And the guy swore up and down that he would meet him halfway between Asheville and Charlotte and get this title squared away. And I told David after, I'm like, there's no way in heck this guy's going to meet you for this title, right? Well, anyway, we get the deal done, gives him the cash. We go to load the car up. So I'm in the driver's seat. The car has minimal brakes. It's a standard, obviously. So they're, pushing me by hand. We had a downhill into the trailer. So we strategically guide this thing. Luckily, Corvettes are light. Into the trailer. I slam the brakes, rip the e-brake, throw it in first gear all at the same time. And we didn't run into the back of the trailer. So that was good. Strap it down. We're on our way. One might think the story is more or less over, right? Well, it's not. So the icing on the cake, let's rewind. We've got the 91 F250, F350 dually that we're towing with, right? This is the tow rig. The trailer has good trailer brakes. The F350 does not have the best brakes. So there is a very random, unexpected slowdown on the highway. I'm not being sarcastic. It really honestly came out of nowhere. And David's a very good driver. I mean, he literally races, a race car that he made with him and his friends. So he knows what he's doing. And he's good at towing trailers and stuff. And I can just see the like panic come over his face. Because there's a wall of cars in front of us, and that F-350 ain't stopping, right? So his eyeballs go big. This dude's on the brakes, full blast. This truck is not slowing down as fast as it needs to. And I swear, he perfectly just gets this thing onto the shoulder. Mind you, this is a dually with a full dimension, 102-inch wide enclosed trailer behind it. So you're as wide as you can get, right? Track trailer width. And he gets this thing on the shoulder next to traffic, and he is just, a couple inches from the mirrors of all these cars, flying at first by these cars and then coming to a nice slow stop next to a, unsuspecting woman, right, driving, whatever. And I just kind of look over, and she's just like, and I'm like, that was a close one. And David had to clean up his pants. We had to roll the windows down for the rest of the trip, but we got merged back in, and we were fine. We made it home. Also, this truck burned a lot of oil, so we stopped halfway through and dumped some oil in it. But needless to say, we got the car. They were able to convert it into a race car. Not only that, the previous owner, did actually meet him, did actually get the title figured out, and he has a valid title for the car. So I really did not expect that to be the case, but it did work out that way. He also fixed the brakes on the F-350, from what I understand. So that is now a much more capable tow vehicle from a safety perspective. So lesson learned there. I would say probably one of the sketchiest car buying stories I've ever heard of or been a part of, that turned out actually really well. So he got a good deal on the car and got what he needed, and life goes on. So anyway, I don't know if that one is Rob Pitt's approved or not, or quality. It definitely isn't to the quality of his stories. He's got some crazy stories, but that's the one I got. I don't quite have the adventurous life that he did, but what a shame to lose a guy like that. Kind of a crazy scenario of what happened just to get cancer like that and gone, but it does happen. So anyway, it's kind of my way of honoring him. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. God bless America, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.